everybody, this is Dianne Devitt. Today with me is Paul Neuman, Chief Inspiration Officer of Neuman's Kitchen, which is one of the, I'm going to say one of the most well-known, reputable, fabulous catering companies and food service in the New York City area. Paul.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for having me
Thanks
today.
for coming back, and thank you for, you've been with us a few times, and I really appreciate sharing everything from growing up in New York, fourth generation fishmonger, and starting Neuman's Kitchen, which is growing as we speak, right? In the design,
Hopefully.
I want to say in the design and presentation of food.
Right.
Food for the emotions, right? And one of the things, just speaking about that, because I know you had mentioned it before about every single detail counting, right? And the emotional impact of that. But you know that I'm especially interested in food and the senses, and you're an artist, you're a sculptor, right? What are your feelings on that, like food and the senses and how it relates as a language?
Well, the first thing you do with food is look at it. So before you decide if you're going to eat it, you decide if it looks good.
Right, like the cat.
Exactly. You eat with your eyes.
Right.
The next thing you do before you taste it is probably smell it. So hopefully it's drawing you in. Whatever the smell is, it's saying that combination of smells is making me want to eat it. Obviously next, you've got the tactile, and you've got the taste. I think the one sense that may be missing a little bit is hearing, although you do hear food when you chew it.
Well, you don't want to hear like, you know, you don't want to hear like, with the lobster. You want to make sure that lobster is not still talking to you, right?
Exactly, exactly. But I think certainly 4 of the 5 senses, and hearing is, I mean, it's in there somewhere. You are hearing the food as you consume it.
Actually, Paul, this is something with the senses area, and I will give a plug to Pringles right now.
Okay.
Because, for example, Pringles chips.
Right.
Found out that people weren't buying the chips or enjoying the chips because so they just came out with Pringles Loud.
That's amazing.
Now, it's not that people weren't enjoying the chips, but the Loud has a direct effect on how give me more.
Right.
It's an addictive thing.
Right. That's amazing. That I didn't know.
So there is something to be said. So when you have your soft shell crab and you're crunching it or something, that's where the audio can come in, right?
But if you think about food, it's really the most intimate thing that we can share. I mean, we're consuming it. We're actually putting it into our bodies. So there's a tremendous amount of trust that goes into any time you consume something. So whether it's a restaurant or a catered event or at home, you know, you are actually putting something in your body, and you want to make sure that you know the source, you're comfortable with it, and you trust who's prepared it, and that we all assume it's safe. And we should assume it's safe because we live in the United States, and there's a very safe food system, and we sort of know the rules. And some of our senses, taste and smell, are warning signs, you know, for safety. There are safety mechanisms. You open a quart of milk that's been in the refrigerator, got lost in the back of the refrigerator, you throw it out.
We know it's bad.
Right, exactly.
But it's interesting because now you have me thinking about with the whole sound with food. And I remember this, I went out to dinner a few months ago, but it was this fusion of crispy, like a a crispy cabbage with a soft fish. Right? So and then there was a crunchy top. So you really had that auditory experience. And it's when you mentioned that is what I thought about. So but you bring me back to is the different food styles. Now we certainly live in a time where we don't have the silver service anymore, but wasn't that the reason or isn't that the reason for when you're in a fine restaurant and you have the dome service? I mean, I was always taught when you take it off, it's for the aroma to come up.
I think there's a number of things. It's the aroma, it's the drama.
Presentation, right?
Yeah, it's the wow, it's the reveal. You know, one of the things I always love about going to Yankee Stadium is you walk through the tunnel and suddenly the field, it's the big reveal.
Right.
It's the moment when what you're about to experience becomes apparent.
I thought you were going to tell me they had that at the hot dogs.
No. But that moment,
no, it's that
when
moment
the curtain goes up.
Exactly.
You know, you're in the theater and the curtain goes up
Exactly.
and you don't know what's behind it, and you go,
Right.
whoa, and it pulls you in.
It pulls you in.
When the waiters lift the dome and you go, oh, look at that. And I do think that more contemporary restaurants have gotten into making sure that they're infusing
that presentation
with something that lights up your
something dramatic.
Yeah.
So it is. So the senses are I'm going to say a growing influence.
Yes.
In the food and catering industry in terms of engagement and really and having people really react to that. I often say after a really fine meal, it's a harmony in my mouth.
Right.
Because it is really when you enjoy a fine meal and everything is going on at one time.
Right.
But what do you think?
By the way, I think about that with hors d'oeuvres.
Oh.
I think an hors d'oeuvre is one of the most challenging things we can make because we're looking for
That's
that
a good
harmony.
point.
You know, the best hors d'oeuvres I've ever had combine an element of surprise with an element of, there's a magic to it. So it can be a crunchy substrate, whatever you put it on, and we try to get away from bread now, so we're doing rice crisps and vegetables and all that. And so you put this thing in your mouth, and it's got to kind of surprise you, delight you, all in one bite.
All in one
so
bite.
It's unlike when you're eating a plate and you get to choose, well, maybe I'll have a scallop and then I'll have some vegetables.
This is it, one time.
This is it. You get one shot. So to me, the hors d'oeuvre is a tremendous test of a chef's ability to magically combine things in an unexpected way and have you go, whoa, may I have another one of those?
Can I have another one of those?
Because I couldn't quite figure it out. One of the things I love in a restaurant is mystery. If I'm going to a restaurant where I know how everything's prepared, it's fine. It can be the greatest meal. But I love a restaurant where I go and I can't quite figure it. There's a little bit of magic and mystery.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because it gets you to start to think of it. I mean, again, there's so many different facets of this, and one of the things I know we didn't discuss was just snack in our meetings in industry world, snacks and breaks and you know, it can go from the brownie to the apple to something that is just like you say, it has to be a one shot, quick, and satiate me in some way, you know. How, given all of this and given, you know, what you know, do you see any trends, just to wrap up? Do you see anything? I know we spoke about being on trending and using certain ingredients at one point, but what do you see for the future?
Well, I think there are two inspirations for trends. I think there's what the audience wants, and there's a natural affinity towards healthy and lighter. We've seen this for many, many years. Then there's sort of the push through. What are the chefs creating? What new ingredients have they discovered? And so trends may originate from the chef side, or they may continue or originate from, well, I want to eat healthier. I want lighter food. So the trends, I think the things that I'm hearing about and seeing are about reducing food waste and trying to use broccoli stems and using things that have been part of the waste stream. We, as an industry, the food industry, restaurant, catering, whatever, we're a little guilty of being part of the problem of waste. So what we're saying now is, well, how much bruised fruit are we not selling or using? Can we make jams out of it? How do we become part of the solution? So there's a sort of political motivation to be better and more conscientious, to use less energy. So that drives certain trends.
That's a good point.
And then there's also the I want to eat healthier trend. So you say we respond to that by dialing down the fat, dialing down the butter. And so we're both responding to things butter. We hear. We all love butter.
My mother always says, the reason it tastes good is because I put butter in it.
I had...
Just so you know, not to interrupt you, but you're right.
No, I had Sullivan Street bread today for lunch and a little bit of butter with some sea salt on it.
I'm sorry, Paul.
And it was everything I could do not to devour.
Life is just too short, so I'm going to leave that.
Yeah.
You know, there are trends.
Right.
And like you say, the chefs discover new things, and they're the artists in that world. And then there's what the people think they want. And then there's the socio and the economic and the psychology of what the world is going through. And so thank you for spending this time to talk about food as a solution, as a sustenance, and more importantly, as just something to be enjoyed. Because isn't that the truth?
It is.
We just have to enjoy it no matter what, guilt-free, go for it, and just have a good time.
That's right.
So thanks for being with us today, Paul Neuman, Neuman's Kitchen. Thank you, everyone.
Diane, thank you.
You're welcome.